Okay, welcome back. Today we are continuing with our playthrough of Errant Kingdom. We just finished Chapter 3 of each route, so now we are starting on to Chapter 4, each route. So first, of course, is the Ambassador route. If you'll recall, at the end of each Chapter 3, our characters found themselves in this unusual location, unfamiliar. So, let's yes, I played this a lot. Okay, Rahim. Rahim Kadir, which Rahim means kind, compassionate, and Kadir means capable, powerful. Yes, I will keep reviewing what the names mean because I can. I chose those very specifically. Okie dokie. Got my photos, got my mouse. Pull up my dashboard on my desktop. Come on. Great. There we go. Okay. Now we're set. Hi. Alyssa? Hopefully you can hear me. Alright, here we go. I know immediately. I'm perhaps from that might supposed to be intimate and uncomfortable experience that I'm not in the Novan woods anymore. Oh, I don't think we're in Kansas anymore. Never mind the obvious difference with the sickly green miasma and the lanterns blinking sinister red from the trees. The air feels too still, too unmoving. Yay, I'm glad you can hear me. And I am struck most by a feeling of not belonging. So, of course, another big clue that he's not in the Novan woods is he was just there with Rue. Rue? Case in point. I look around. I am alone, naturally, and there's no response. Naturally. I'm sorry, but for some reason, it naturally makes me think of the Hugon first sketch with Abbott and Costello. My family is huge baseball fans, so we have that pretty much memorized. Patrick? Of course, Christy Knight. No answer. I take the knife from my belt, trying to ignore how my fingers seem to fumble as I draw it. The steel bears the magical rune still, but what would have once been glowing and alive is now only cold metal. Shit, that's not good. In all the years I've known Cedric, ever since he gifted me with this dagger, I've never seen it this way before. The magic is gone. I'm not sure if the goosebumps are from the rapidly chilling air or from something else. I refuse for it to be anything but the formless. Chuckling, I sheath the weapon and put it away. I mean, you can still use it as a weapon, but it's not going to do you any good if there's no enemies or opponents. And then immediately catch sight of a figure at the far end of the forest. Spoke too soon. For a long moment, neither of us moved. The stranger stands perfectly still, their face clearly concealed by their voluminous hood. Only the feathers on their cloak moved, shifting as though with an invisible breeze. I mean, can we just appreciate the character design here? Just perfect. And I think there are some people who are like, what's under the hood? And I'm like, I don't care. At last, they do move, the lantern they carry hanging on a staff, singing noisily as it sways. I tense. Be not afraid. You are invited. Their voice is not a voice at all. Not something I can hear with my ears. Rather an idea conveyed directly into my mind. Ooh, telepathy! I glower at them, and somehow that seems to be enough. It isn't much of an invitation, so I was never given a chance to refuse. I mean, point is more of a kidnapping in that case. Where am I? Who are you? There's a moment of silence. I only have the impression of exasperation and the vague realization that the stranger doesn't want to speak because I've acted so offended when they do. I bump the scroll button on my mouse. We're trying this mouse, man. The mouse from my desktop, the scroll button is dying. And again, it never pays to be rude to strangers in their realm, no matter if I'm here by will or not, I suppose. Ever the ambassador. My apologies, but really, I must be going. Would you be so kind as to show me the way out? You will explore the path to a hidden truth? The makers of this kingdom call. Come. They turn away. I have no choice but to follow. The miasmic fog is thick and swirling, unable to be kept at bay despite the flickering lantern. Nonetheless, the rattling of my otherworldly guide's lantern keeps me from wandering off. I have a feeling I can't, that even if I purposely veer from the path, I will find myself back on their trail. That's comforting? That's the way it is in these realms that are of someone's own making, and I'm still half hoping for an answer. Naturally. Suddenly the rattling stops. And the scenery has changed. Of course it has. Look at the constellations all over the place, and this must be a huge space. And these statues, I blanked on the word, and moves and books. Oh no, my weakness. Books. I love books. I love to read, but only books that I choose. So reading books for school, not fun. Completely. Truly some sort of face trick. I can't fight the dismay and dread in the pit of my stomach, but at the same time, at least it's something I know. Ah, that is it. Who's that? There's a shifting of clothes, robes swirling on the marble floor. At the top of the stairs, a figure descends. They're a giant, or with every step they take closer to me, they seem to grow taller, until at last they stand before me. The world around them has changed as well, growing in perspective until I'm only a miniature standing in a giant's foyer. Well, that's fun. The massive coins in the stranger's hands clink with the volume of cathedral bells as they click them again and again. They quite clearly be the leader of this place, if not this realm. I think there's a word missing there. So we can actually or say well met. Or ambassador. Let's go with the polite way. Slowly, carefully, I bow. Not too deeply, not too light. After all, they were the one who plucked me out of my world and into theirs. The host should be the one to offer hospitality. Well met, though I haven't caught your name. No, you haven't. The being stops playing with their coins, which is a blessing on my ears. Yeah, it says cathedral bells, like, that can have a lot of meaning. Like, is it distant cathedral bells, or the cathedral bells right over your head? So I would imagine, since they're standing right in front of you, it's as if the cathedral bells are right above you. Yeah, I'm doing all 3 routes simultaneously, so next week will be the night route, and then the week after will be the disaster nomad, and then I'll continue with chapter 5, and then hopefully soon I'll be able to continue the story, but I'm happy to be doing when the night comes revamped, and if the next rest of Errant Kingdom isn't ready, then I'll move on to a different game, and then come back to Errant Kingdom once it is available. But all of these are, I'm uploading all these videos to YouTube, so you can find them under my username on YouTube if you wanted to watch them all. Will you stop playing with... Okay, I already said that. I am the silent watcher, the presider of trials, the designer of misfortune. No winds invoke my name as winners to their justice. Soldiers pray to me that their children may never live to see war. Scouts and generals offer hope in my name, but their fears are unfounded and their enemies unmasked before there is bloodshed. I am Telenios, god of Novus. I'm sure you know that. Oh, that I do not expect. Forgive me, but I have just as much reason to suspect that this is all an elaborate illusion, and that you're just someone playing tricks on me. After all, why would a god be so manageable? In presence, in appearance, I've met ancient Fey lords with a much more oppressive atmosphere than this rather affable giant. A fair suspicion. But you are aware that any proof I offer may be rejected at your convenience. The mortal mind is a bottomless but tiny thing. Its walls narrow and its own master is stingy. I'm sorry, but did you just call the ambassador small-minded? I mean, in comparison to God. That's a fair point. I try not to bristle. I am trying. Oh, have I offended you? My apologies. In watching, I have been silent, and in my silence, I think you have forgotten some of my manners. You are self-aware, Lord Telenios. I will give you that. Now, be aware, I have no idea if I'm pronouncing this correctly. I could probably ask how their names are pronounced, but it's more fun to figure it out on my own. It is the curse and the nature of a god to be self-aware. Quite unlike those Fey lords, you have a plenty in your sun-drenched land, traveler. Sometimes I envy them their willful, all-consuming conceit. This isn't an entirely wrong observation, sadly. I have a feeling that despite his airy words, the scene is waiting for me to show a reaction, to refute perhaps something we both know is true. And then, I don't know what he will do exactly. I have a hard time believing that this is an actual god before me. How could this be? Then I will give you the benefit of the doubt, Lord Telenios. It's always a bad idea to look things you don't know in the eye, but I try anyway. Telenios doesn't reveal much as it is, with his face covering and his mask. His alabaster eyes don't betray anything either. He's utterly unreadable. Why call me here? Why reach out to, as you say, a traveler? Shouldn't you be pulling, I don't know, Livia here? Actually, we do find out a bit why it wouldn't be Livia. The Knight Captain, Canadros favored. Yet even Canadros will not call to her. We cannot chance it again, calling upon souls born from this soil. The Union has meddled before, and they will do so again. No, only a soul foreign to them will truly be free of their influence. That does not sound good. Now bear in mind, I have played this before, so I'm aware of what's going to happen, but I'm reacting as if I don't know what's coming. That's fine. Yours. But why? For a long moment, Telenios is silent. Then he begins to play with his coins again. Clang, clang, clang go the giant discs of gold, ringing in my ears, and with it, the scenery changes. No, the room degrades. So just take a moment here. I mean, aside from the obvious lighting changes, constellations are gone, replaced with these cracks of red light. The statues are now looking at us instead of the books, which is creepy as hell. And I don't think anything's happened to the books. I hope not. I love my books. And my books. I love books. Books. And then Telenios too changes, horrifically even. His skin goes ashen, the veil on his face disintegrating like ashes. Gray, deathly smoke pours from beneath, covering his face. Of course, even without the mask, we can't see his face. Really a good thing, too. The coins in his hands also turn to smoke, a writhing, formless ball that somehow still makes me think of chaos, of ruin. I stare at it because I can't bear to look at Telenios' entirety anymore. The statues behind him turn their stone heads to look at me. My heart is thundering with a mounting terror I can barely keep at bay, but my feet won't move. I can't flee. No, I won't flee. There was a place like this once in the waking world. Telenios' voice is now the joining and echoing of a dozen, 100, a chaotic cacophony. That would drive me crazy. It was no temple dedicated to me, but it was a place of learning. Here they taught laws and entrusted upon the brightest minds of the land the duty to sit fairly in the judgment of their fellows. Learning, I was learning. I loved it for that, and I loved the young man's mind who passed through these halls. It was also the first place to burn when that old kingdom fell. Sacraments lost, the rules man's own hands made, who carefully penned to keep their own peace. Every time balance is lost and a decline occurs, this happens. The laws become letters on a page and tools of condemnation instead of protection. Wait, this sounds awfully familiar. When mortals forget that their prosperity is built on the backs of one another in good faith and trusted company. Telenios clasps his hands together, and the cloud of smoke in his coins has become vanishes, with the mighty sound of fabric shifting as he kneels closer to me. I dare to look up at his face. There's still no face to see, of course, but I realize that I don't need it to know his thoughts. When they eschew my warnings, eschew? I'm never sure how to pronounce that word. Growing complacent in their self-righteousness, when I choose to look upon the truth and pretend not to see, then do I lose form. Then does my guidance turn to dust, and I grieve for their failures, these mistakes I can't deliver them from. The union, the joined aspects of all this land's people wish for and honor, devises a plan to save them all. It would offer true deliverance, make this into a kingdom of ascendance, free from worldly needs and desires. To make mortals unto God, and thus will they ensure an eternal kingdom. That doesn't sound so bad. What's the catch? In doing so, consign the same mortals we guide and protect to destruction. Oh. Okay. So, a quarrel between gods, or where do I factor into this? Why did you drag me in? And where do I factor into all of this? I'm amazed I found my voice again, and that it doesn't shake at all. What am I even supposed to react to this with? Disbelief? All that I'm feeling right now, acutely, is brewing anger and resentment. This is not my business. I'm an ambassador, not a plucky adventurer from yonder hills who came looking for trouble to get into. You said you needed a soul Novus couldn't touch. There are surely plenty of alternatives. Those with less complicated loyalties, Lord Telenios. Are you not here to ensure the prosperity and friendship of both your land and ours? It remains less extreme than involving myself with Catholic Horus. Horus? I don't get the impression of a wry smile. Is that what you call it? And what do you call it? A disaster waiting to happen. That sounds worse. That's significantly worse. For a synonym, then you understand why I would give much, if anything, for it to not happen. Again, that is. He withdraws, and his form shifts again. But the library stays the same this time, its foreboding, ruinous appearance almost oppressive. Telenios has a flair for the theatrics, I have to say. But then again, he's a god, and quite talkative for someone called the Silent Watcher. And how exactly are you planning to stop a god, your god, from doing that? By introducing changes before things reach a point of no return. Naturally. Oh, of course, naturally. The decline I mentioned doesn't mean excess opulence and starving peasants. It means little things swept under the rug. It means ruthless and disproportionate retribution on those who dare to challenge the crown. It means accepting circumstances as facts while handing out a sentence, rather than doing what is necessary to find the truth. Eric. So Neos doesn't move, but I can sense his agreement. That was my first thought, too. Even the first time I played this, when he talked about it, my brain immediately went to Eric and his situation, what happened to him. But you can't intervene directly, I take it. Not for lack of trying. And if they ignored you, then what can I, an outsider, and probably not at all trusted, do in your stead? You seem to be under the impression that I swept into their court in my full regalia, telling them to try harder. No, that's rude. I don't do that. But my hints and counsels, my every attempt to appeal to Novus' favor to rule this land, have gone unheard, ignored. His wrath shakes the marble floor, but only for a moment, where everything steadies again, like it never happened. It was easier for them to assume that a problem ended with a tangible, punishable target, so they did. In doing so, they forget their conduct matters just as much. You say you aren't trusted, but you are. That is your most prized quality. Ever since arriving, you built bridges between many factions inside the castle and outside the castle. Your words carry weight, and they carry far. You might succeed in convincing your fellow mortals where I failed. And while you do that, my brethren and I will work to persuade Novus to abandon this doomed course. We are what happens when man cries out to the void between stars and finds the formless will there to be sympathetic. There we go. Novus' idea of salvation hinges on your ability to become more like us than you are yourself. That creatures of perishable flesh and bones can somehow embody the absolutes of a god and still survive. You achieve the same effect by dying and returning to the cosmos. I think we all labor for your survival, not a more poetic interpretation of your demise. Neos bends closer again, and I brace myself for his form to shift once more, but it doesn't. Forgetting that it was his and his fellow's voice hundreds of generations ago, which appealed so deeply to ancient beings with no corporeal form that we became corporeal, that we took forms to be with you, to even converse with you. Mortals alone understand the value of the tiniest, most minute aspects of their lives, long or short, to be able to look at anything and love it so fiercely it propels them forward. Slowly, he straightens. We've been here for generations beyond your counting, and we have never found the sense people are wanting. A nice bit of irony. Novus is a calculating aspect, but they have learned love and loss deeply enough to have it be the reason they act as they do now. Man's corrupting influence? No, not really. A feeling is a feeling, an act is an act. You can love someone to the bottom of your endless eternal heart and still be the worst thing that will ever happen to them. He flicks his wrist and begins to flip the coins again, but this time they make no sound. Something we are trying to avoid. There is still time. Novus can be convinced that there's a different path that can be taken to protect the kingdom. The world shudders. Uh-oh, what's going on? Oh dear. I will have to give you further counsel later on. Novus has found us. So, I'll become your accomplice? You make this sound like it's something illegal. You are quite literally asking me to go behind your people's patron god's back. Don't worry, my little friend, I am the patron of law, and I tell you this, to obey its written letter rather than honor its spirit is an act of cowardice and folly. Don't insult yourself by indulging in it. Telling you the truth, this is all very exciting for me. Eons I have waited in the dark, throwing breadcrumbs and morsels of wisdom to my people, watching them bounce off of stone walls. The world shakes again. And one more thing. Neos tosses the coins over his shoulder and bends down. He holds out his hand to me, and startled, I reach for it in return. His skin is metal cold, and where his massive fingertip brushes the back of my hand, there's a sting. A parting courtesy to save you from Novus' many prying eyes. For the most part. The world is crumbling now. Cracks that run against the walls. Moldy books are shaken from their already unsteady shelves and come raining down. Sonios bows his head, and when I look again, he's gone. In his place, an invisible presence fills every nook and cranny of this room. The force of it knocks me down, sending me sprawling. I scramble to get up again, but then realize the pressure is so horrendous, I can't breathe. I have a terrible, horrific flashback to the chapel in the royal garden. Standing in that place has made me aware of some great, awful beast my mind can't even fully grasp. And now it's here, but it's no beast, but a god. In the sun, their attention is fully on me. Novus doesn't speak. If they do, then I can't understand them. Not between being suffocated and being crushed. But I know what they feel, how they feel. Their memories, their anguish of broken streets and burning walls, with thousands of voices crying out for salvation that they couldn't answer. The smoldering corpses of once crowned monuments, desecrated, bloodied temples where worshippers have fled to in fright and been slain, the taste of copper and iron dripping on the earth, dripping into the cosmos, into the heart of the gods. Hands look over my ears, my eyes. Sonia's voice whispers close by. They are trying to consume you with their own memories. You must go home. How? Recall your friends, your loved ones, someone who will keep you safe. Safe. And we're going to save here. Because that's our road. Come on. So this is where we choose who we're going to romance. So if you're going to do a poly romance, then you pick one of the poly options here, and then later on you'll get a chance to choose the poly romance. But we're not picking the poly romance, not on our team. We are picking crew, because my idea was basically that I pick whoever they were with when they were pulled away. So the ambassador was with Rue. That's who we're going to. Rue and the memory of endless flowering hillsides, a forest stretching into the distance, pine trees and crisp bottoms. Homesickness nearly drowns out the terror of being consumed alive by God's endless memory. No, it must. As is the desire to go home. I bare my teeth and reach for it. Reach for Rue in that flower field of the heart they've opened to me. I will not die here. Not after so many things said and so many more unsaid. I will return. Good. Farewell, traveler. It feels like he bodily yanks me away out of Novus' looming presence. I feel a surge of foreign wrath around us, but it never catches us. We're gone into a dark and endlessly empty space. And I'm falling. Then colors reappear, a dizzying maelstrom of it, flashes of places and sceneries I can't focus on without feeling like my stomach going flip. The world stops spinning. My vision takes a moment to follow, unfortunately. My vision tilts dangerously before it settles enough for me to realize I'm no longer there. The barren hillside stretches out around me instead. High above, stars gleam serenely. There's no trace of the world I came from, and definitely nothing like a pissed-off patron god glowering down at me. God, boy. If it can be called glowering, I shiver at the memory of Novus' gravity, but also the invasive pressure they tried to exert on me. That horrific moment of coercion. They're gone. I'm safe. I even recognize this place. Where Rue took me before. I'd taken a deep, shuddering breath, letting the fragrant night air fill my lungs. My mind is still abuzz, but... Rahim? Far away, I hear my name called. With some effort, I push myself upright. Just in time, too. The body collides with my own, arm seizing my neck, knocking me right back onto the ground. I might as well just stayed on the ground. Ow! Hey! Oh, sorry. Rue yanks me back to a sitting position, and dazedly I wonder how they're so strong. Hey, hello. There's more hunting. Wheezing, rather. Weirdly enough, it's this more than anything that fully shakes me back into the present. I pat Rue's on, and they sigh in my ear, the sound of utter relief. I hope you haven't missed me too much. Miss you? Rue lets me go just enough to grab my shoulders and give me a hard shake. You've got me terrified, terrorized. That night of yours came flying out of the trees minutes after you wandered out, fire fair jetting out of his nostrils. He thankfully refrained from pruning me right there, because we both knew you would be so unbelievably cross with him if he did, but Rue took in a huge breath. It was a very near thing, and then I went to look for you, and I couldn't find you anywhere, not a trace. I asked the trees, and they knew nothing either, which was freaky, and I winked at them, wondering if smoke is going to start coming out of their ears any minute now. There's no smoke, but Rue gestures wildly with their hands, trying to convey something words clearly can't suffice for. Is it rude? Maybe it is. Then I start laughing. Yeah, that's a great time to start laughing. But I suppose it's laugh or cry. And I'd rather laugh than cry. Hey! Rue sits down next to me and pokes my cheek, but the grin is hard to hide, dimples aside. I'm sorry. It's alright. I know you didn't intend to disappear. They take my hand in theirs and let them pull it away from my mouth. Rue winks, placing her fingers together. Don't hide. I like seeing you smile. Aw, Rue. This is much less graceful than a smile, I'm afraid to see. No? Nor should I be laughing. I don't think. Why is that? I open my mouth and close it. Not to even say what happened to me. My eyes strain to our joined hands, and that's when I notice it. Gently, I pry it from Rue's grasp and hold it up so we can both see. There, emblazoned on the back of my hand like a sigil, is that. That would be the symbol for Libra in Western Zodiac. Well, a sigil. I've seen some of the stylized forms on the fields of Novian nobles and carved on the furniture in the castle libraries. My blood runs cold, then icy. Of all the... I can't believe he marked me like some kind of cattle. Maybe the ambassador could be that offended. That's fickle gods, and these fates are the ones going for spiriting away beautiful mortals. So, we're gonna go with the second one, because, yeah. Oh, Rue, if you had tried to spirit me away, I would have gone willingly. Really? Look, they blush! They blush! So, I'll hold you to that, Raheem. Rue takes my hand again and places a kiss right on top of that glowing mark, which is now beginning to fade. I admit I'd tense a little, just in case divine retribution comes falling out of the sky in the form of a lightning strike or something. No such thing happens. The sigil fades away, leaving nothing in its wake, not even a hint of its existence for mere moments before. Only Rue, holding on to me, and only me, myself. I feel like laughing. An audience of the god, having to suffer another god that almost kills for simply being near them, now suddenly it's all evaporated like a dream. Maybe I shouldn't feel so surprised. Once I wander into a realm not my own as well. A common enough occurrence in this land of the bank, and I find my way home again. That's all. Just never thought a fairy would be able to serve as an anchor to the waking world. God drew me away like you said, and to you I returned. It was your anchor? I realized then what I had said. An anchor is something, or someone, precious enough that even in the deepest daydreams one can hold on to and pull themselves toward to escape from the most powerful spellweaver's clutches. Fairy monarchs and those rivaling these very gods the Novians worship have failed to keep prey in their grasp solely for the fact that those prey had such an anchor. Yes, it is so cute! Yeah, my first ambassador I romanced Livia. That was adorable. And Rue. I didn't think of you very hard, Rue. When Novus was trying to break my mind open, Novus? They hold my hand up again and look at it quizzically. I thought that was a Deathfield bookkeep sigil. I love Rue so much. I tried to imagine what Tonios would have said had he heard of Faye calling him a Deathfield bookkeep and bite my lip. Maybe he was doing me a favor. Okay. Still pretty rude of him, ain't it? I'm so worried. Did I tell you how worried I was? I can imagine. I put my hand on his shoulder and draw them closer, and kissed them. Lightly now, lest they flee. I feel them still under my lips, and for a moment I'm afraid that I have overstepped. But Rue leans in, deepening the kiss. It's soft still, achingly so, chaste yet warm, and let myself sink into it. We break it only to rest our foreheads together. I with my eyes closed, breathing in the scent of the night woods that cling to Rue, more pleasant than any noblewoman's expensive perfume. Then I remember. Cedric! Oh, Cedric! Rue hops to their feet, taking my hand. It's nearly unnatural strength that they pull me up with them. I sway dangerously, the sudden shift in balance, not at all something my still-dazed brain is prepared for. For a moment, the world lurches dangerously, and I can't decide whether I'm falling face first to the ground or if Tonios wants to yank me back there. At least if it's the former, the fires will cushion me. Neither of those things happen, happily enough. Rue steadies me with an arm around my waist, the other still holding on to my hand. Their eyes gleam in the starlight, almost seeming to glow softly. The smile is blooming, the finest of these beautiful flowers. What I wouldn't give to dance with you. All night, here, under these stars. That sounds lovely. Shall we make a date of it later on? Yes, yes! Then we part, at least a little. Rue's smile turning wry. Sorry, I shouldn't have dragged you up like that. Maybe you would like to stay sitting for a little while longer? I'm fine. Even as I say it, I know it's a lie. With my only support being Rue's hand on my arm now, my legs feel shaky. Actually, I feel like I'm going to pass out. You do? Can I say that out loud? I'm sitting down again all of a sudden, so that must have also happened when I'm not paying attention. I've been there, where you just have these moments where you miss stuff that happens, and I'm like, what? But it's just because I have ADHD brain, and sometimes I just check out. Which is not a good idea when you're driving. Rue crouches next to me, holding my face as they look deep into my eyes. Their lips are pursed contemplatively. I'm just glad that you returned to me, to us, through shadowed realms of gods and unknown paths in between. Here you are again. Where else would I go? The simplest choices are often the ones that take the most strength to make, in my experience. And you've never lacked in strength, my beautiful flower. They kiss my head, and it feels like a blessing without words. Stay here, would you? I'll find Cedric, and then he can see you home, and then I'll see you tomorrow. This does sound very nice. And hard to get up and move around, especially. Rue lets me go, straightens, and then they're gone, leaving me alone, but not lonely in the calm night, the flowering valley they love so much, surrounding me as though in embrace. And that's it for chapter 4. Yeah, they're all going to be this short. Which is a nice break for me, because usually they're about twice as long. But that's because you basically have to talk with each potential love interest while furthering the story. But considering that they had to write romance scenes for all 3 routes with all the potential love interests, and the talk with the different gods, because, yes, the knight and the nomad are also going to encounter them. So there was a lot of work that went into this chapter for how short it is. And I have mad respect for the writers and everybody who worked on it. So that's it for today. It's a short one. I will go back. Yeah, I can talk, really. I will try to remember to stream on Sunday about the same time. I usually do it about midday Pacific time. just because it seems to be the best time. Because if I wait until evening, then I'm so tired I don't want to do it. Yeah, next Sunday is more of When the Night Comes revamped, at least chapter 4. Depending on how long it takes, I may do chapter 5 as well, but I'm not making guarantees on that count. And then next week I will do the night chapter 4. Yeah. And then I'll keep alternating. If there isn't more of Errant Kingdom by the time I finish all of the chapter 5 for the 3 routes, then I will probably switch games. I haven't decided which one I'm going to switch to. I've been poking around looking for new ones. You're welcome. Thank you for joining me. Yeah, it's still, doing the Night and Nomad chapter 4 and then all 3 chapter 5. That's 5 weeks, so that's over a month. So who knows what's going to happen in that time. So until Sunday or Wednesday, if you're just interested in Errant Kingdom and not When the Night Comes revamp, you take care, and thank you for joining me, and I will be back shortly, whenever that will be.